Good morning, world. It is 2:26 a.m. It is a Wednesday, April 7th. I woke up probably about around 11:15 last night. Um last night to one of the worst nightmares I've ever had. I've got a little bit of backstory as to some of the characters and some of why I feel like I had the dream that I had and whatnot. So I'm gonna talk about that immediately beforehand. But also, I'm using a camera. I don't know what other cameras to use. I hate this box, so we're gonna struggle through this one time. You just get to see my lovely face framed. Um, but so I went into my old job, Devilicious, to pick up my last two checks. Um, I had left there because some of the core kitchen managers are garbage and very rude people. And I've been having lots of health problems recently, and I've been getting less than sympathy, like the adverse of what sympathy would be. Instead of people being like, "Hey, how are you doing? I heard that you were like throwing up blood. Are you okay?" They're just like, "Hey, fuck you. You didn't come in yesterday." I'm like, I get it, but still rude. And then for them to be like, "Oh, what's up, other guy who comes in? Like, it's really good to see you, even though he was there last night. Oh, it's so good to see you. How was your night? How are you doing? It's so good to see you." And I'm sitting there just like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And no one gives a fuck about how I'm doing. So and then getting micromanaged, and I left because of that. And I was like, all right, I'm done with you guys. I'm done. I'm done getting micromanaged and not cared about, where nobody gives a fuck about me, how I'm doing. You're literally just treating me like trash. You're overworking me. Other people are leaving before their scheduled shift times, just because they want to. And I'm sitting there like, I don't necessarily want to leave, but I want to leave when I'm scheduled to go, because I have a different shit to do. I've got a life to live, friends to go see, family to go see. um, so, you know, like, I want to go do those things too. But I can't because they fucking suck. But I digress. I went to go pick up my two checks. I saw my manager, Gabby. We talked for a little while, and she was asking me how my Easter was. I was asking her how her Easter was, asking about family and whatnot, how I'm doing, asked her how she was doing. Small talk, little conversation. But she comes up in my dream, and uh, now you understand work, job, boss. Um, but also, I was supposed to go to a karaoke bar with my friends tonight, called ET's. And so that also plays a role in this story. Now, so I was supposed to go to this karaoke bar tonight, and I didn't sleep much the night before, so I was trying to get a little nap in beforehand. I was hoping that I swear I set an alarm, but I guess I didn't. Um, and so I didn't wake up in time. I fell asleep and was pretty much immediately cascaded into this dream that was fine, but then turned into a nightmare. It was like it extended from the time that I went to bed, which was probably around 6:30. Um, and so I had woken up from my nap in this dream and gotten up because my friends were calling me. And they were saying, okay, it's time to go. Like, we're going to go to ET's, but first we would like to have a potluck. We want to go, hang out, make some dinner, and, then we'll go over to ET's and go drink and sing and whatnot. So I was like, sick. That sounds like a good plan. So we were meeting up at, I believe it was Winco, and we were going to go grab all these supplies to go make food. I was super excited about it. During this time, there was like loud booming going off in the background, like of just like the city, and I had assumed that it was Camp Pendleton, which is nearby. It's a military base. So, I was just like, oh, Camp Pendleton's testing more bombs because they've been going insane recently. They're dropping bombs like fucking crazy. Um, and so I didn't pay much attention to it. Now, my manager Gabby called me, and I was like, "Oh, hey Gabby, what's up? How are you doing?" Like, She was like, "Oh, not much. Like, I'm doing good. I'm really sorry what's happened between you and the managers and whatnot. Like, I appreciate you bringing to our attention that we're being stolen from at work by some of the coworkers that you have, and like it's not right for you to be put through what you were put through, and for them just to be able to walk out and sit down for 3/4 of their shift and just masturbate in the corner and fucking like just sit on your phone and not do anything while you're doing three people's jobs." And I was like, "Oh, I really appreciate that." And she was like, "Well, why don't you come to ET's?" And which was weird. She was like, "Why don't you come to ET's and come hang out for a bit, and we'll talk for a minute, and do some karaoke." I was like, "That's weird. I'm going there anyway." I was like, I'm gonna have a potluck with some friends first, and then I'll be over. It'll probably be in like 2.5 hours, but I should be there by like 9:30, which is when we were saying that we were gonna go over. Um, and she was like, "Okay, that's great. That sounds awesome. I'll see you there. We'll meet then." I was like, "Rock on. That's awesome." So, uh, I get into my car and I start driving to the store to go meet everybody at the store. Um, there are booms that are close, and I recognize them as close, but I was kind of just like, man, people's cars are like going off. And it seemed to like there was just a lot of chaotic energy in the air. It seemed very menacing, very like negative. But I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm going to see friends. We're going to have a potluck. Like, get the hell out of your own head. Just enjoy the time that you're going to have. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy, life. I was like, yeah, that's what I need to be doing. I need to be enjoying life. So I get to Winco, and most of us pull up around the same time. I don't want to give too many names because I don't have the consent of these people to give their names, but um, we'd all kind of pulled up, and we all kind of got together, and a few of us were stragglers getting out of cars late, and as that was happening, as the last few stragglers were showing up, um, all these people in black hoodies, and right here on their chest was a big symbol of a red flag with the top half being red, black half or bottom half being black, anti-fascist Antifa. Um, and they were all armed, and they had my friend. Fuck, I'll use names. My friend Johnny got out of his car, and this dude wearing a jacket, just a hoodie, came up and blew his head off with a shotgun. Just like right in front of all of us, and we were terrified. We're like, what the hell? Like, we're just getting food. And so panic starts to ensue in this parking lot, and there's like 50, 60 hooded people in this group that are running around just murdering people. Now, again, this is a dream. However, you fuckers do that all the time. You raid people's houses, you raid people's businesses, and it's why I'm having dreams like this. Stop it. Fuck you. But so I turn around to my friend Brandon, who's parked far away like I have, but he's already halfway to us, so he's running to us, trying to get within a group of people. And he just gets hit in the back of the head with this arrow. And the arrow goes straight through the back of his head, out his forehead. I see his brain half stuck to the arrow, and, he immediately falls down inside of a pool of blood. We panic even more because we just watched two of our good friends die. And we immediately try to jump into a car, but our group kind of splits into three directions. And I was with my friends Amber, Nate, and Alexis. And so we jumped inside of Alexis's car, and we were kind of panicking, but we're like, we can't stay here, but what do we do? Like, all of these people are going to get hurt. They're going to get severely injured, if not die. We just watched two of our friends die. We can't just leave people like this. So we had made that decision quickly. We got out of the car and we went into Winco, and we were trying to help however we could. Um, and so that group had kind of gotten split off. It was like Amber and Alexis turned left, and my friend Nate and I turned right. And after that, we had kind of turned around to be like, no, you're going the wrong way. Come back over here. My friend Alexis had gotten her left arm cut off by this dude with a hatchet. And, she looked down at her arm and just kind of disbelief and didn't know what to think about it, how to feel about it, just kind of shock. And then looked back at this guy and just awe, and had her head split open down to the center about where her nose was. And so I was scared shitless. And the thing is I've felt everything in this dream up to that time. I could feel I could feel my hand on door handles. I could feel my feet on the ground. I could feel the air. I could feel people running into me. I could feel people near me. Like, I was in this dream. And so, Amber comes running over to us, but for some reason she has to go get something. So she runs off to go get something, clearly showing to me, who should have recognized this, that this is a dream, because this isn't how people act. Especially not my friends, who are smart and would stick together. And so it's Nate and I, and we're running around trying to get people out. We run into this one room that's kind of like this back door area where the cameras are, because we wanted to see the layout of everything that was going on. But this room with cameras that should have been like the camera room was like this. It looked like a high school medical bay, like a nurse's office. And there were a lot of people in there, and they were all crying and scared and worried. To which we were very scared and worried too. We're sitting on what was like this kind of like shielded off bed area, and it's just the two of us on this like cot basically. And my friend Nate's telling me, like, listen, like, Amber and I are time travelers, and we need to go back in time to make sure that this doesn't happen. We're going back to 1998, and we need to talk to this Native American chief who had already foreseen this, and we need to go back to go talk to him to figure out what we need to do. And I was like, okay, well, I'm coming with you. He had kind of shot me a glance of like, don't know about that, we'll see. He didn't want to tell me, partially because I don't think he knew what happens to me, nor do I think that, I don't know. But so he pulls out this like obelisk of sorts. It's like this big crystal from his backpack, and he emits like this just bright white light, and it gets to the top of this obelisk, and the second that it passes its peak, it just flashes and explodes, and then he's gone. And I'm left in this room with a bunch of people, and the only thing that's left from him is this knife that I've never seen before. He doesn't own it. I've never seen this knife before, but it was one of... Should have researched the name of knives, because I am a knife guy. I'm also very tired, but I wanted to bring this to people. A spring-loaded, I want to call it a switchblade, but I know that's not the right term. And it was made out of like platinum and silver. And so I grab it to arm myself because I didn't have anything at the time. And the second that I put my hands on it, somebody comes just busting through the door and cuts through a woman's throat who's right next to the door with a machete. And so then this guy runs over and tackles this guy. Luckily, he had gotten him from behind while he was on his overswing like this, tackled him here. And so he landed on his stomach, and I had jumped over this guy and stabbed him in the back of the head. The guy with the machete had stabbed him in the back of the head. To which the other guy picked up the machete and just disappeared, ran off. And everybody kind of fled from where we were. And so I was trying to find my friends, to whom I couldn't find any of them that were still alive. The place was being raided. All these people in hoodies were stealing things from the shelves, just filling up cars and taking off and just looting the place and murdering people left and right. It was terrible. And so I get my ass out of there. I start running out of the store. And I see around me the rest of my friends just on the floor, dead, mutilated, missing fingers, missing limbs, shots, bullet holes. And like I'm watching this guy just beat this dead man to death with a crowbar and just destroy what's left of his skeletal system. I run to my car, which is in the back of the parking lot, like really far away, but I am just full on booking it to my car. And the second that I get to it, I open the door of the driver side and I enter my car. But for some reason, it's my parents' car. And I'm sitting in my parents' car in the back seat. And they're like, okay, are you ready to go? And I'm like, fucking drive, get us out of here. And so, they're not really responsive to it. They're like, okay, fine, like, we'll go. I'm like, do you not see what's happening around you? Do you not, are you not hearing the gunshots and the screams and the death? Can you not smell it? Can you not feel it? Like, this is horrible. And they're like, yeah, but it's, part of life. It's terrible. And my sister's sitting next to me, but she's not saying anything. She's just quiet the whole time. And it's not one of those, like, comatose, like, trauma stare forwards and just not say anything. It's just, like, on her phone, not paying attention, not caring. And so we eventually start driving back to my parents' house. And I'm trying to learn about the switchblade a little bit. I'm trying to learn how it works, how to, put the blade away, how to take it out. I'm kind of switching it from hand to hand. It's the last thing that I'm going to remember my group of friends by because I just watched them all be killed. And so, it was a very powerful artifact that I had in my hands. And I ended up stabbing myself in the hand, which hurt like a bitch. It hurt so bad. I immediately felt my hand just sting, and I felt and saw the blood coming down my hand. I was like, ah, shit. Like, I definitely cut myself bad. So, I was sucking on my hand, trying to just, like, not drip blood everywhere, to where I was tasting all of the blood. Like, I was fully immersed in this dream. I could taste the blood. I could feel the pain. Like, everything. I was feeling the sweat drip down my face. It was bizarre. So eventually we're getting back to my parents' street. And they're like, listen, we have friends over. Like, don't be yourself. Like, just be cool. And I'm sitting there like, I just lost all of my friends. I don't have many friends. And I just lost all of the people that cared about me. And you're not going to spend the time to talk to me about what just happened. And you're not going to ask me if I'm okay, that I just stabbed my hand and I'm bleeding everywhere. Like, you just don't fucking care. And, again, her response is just, well, it's part of life. And my dad's walking off to get the mail, so he goes and he grabs the mail from the mailbox and comes back in to the house after I run upstairs and, treat my wound. And that was incredibly painful. It was like treating any other wound that I've ever had where I've gashed myself that bad, which sucks. Because, I was hoping that in a dream I'd just be like, oh, I don't feel it. Good thing it's numb. No, it fucking hurt. It was painful. So I come back downstairs and I meet their guests downstairs. They're kind of looking at me weird, which sure. Like, I'm looking frantic, I'm scared as hell, and I'm confused. Um, and I sit on the other side of the couch from these people, and I'm being asked questions like, "Oh, like you're Noah then?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm Noah. Like, who who are you?" Um, and the guy was like, "I'm." For some reason, he was the same name as my uncle, and he was like, "I'm Brent," and the girl was like, "I'm Stacy," and I was like, "Okay, like, cool to meet you. Do you have any idea what's going on, like, around us right now?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's all over the news." Just nonchalant. Just, yeah, it's happening. What are we gonna do about it? And I'm sitting there like, I just lost all my friends. And I was telling Stacy this. Brent got up and just went to go grab a beer. He grabbed a beer from the fridge and went and talked to my parents in the other room, leaving me to talk to her, and she didn't give a fuck. So she was just like, "Oh yeah, like, okay." And then I was still just holding this knife in my hands because like I wasn't gonna let it go. Like I couldn't put it in my pockets. I couldn't put it down. Like it was just it meant so much to me. Um, and she was like, "Oh, like you cut your hand open," and I was like, "Yeah, I did." Um, and she was just like, "Okay, well, like, so how's your night been?" And I was like, "Awful, fucking terrible. I killed a person today. I watched all my friends die, and no one fucking cares. No one cares at all. No one's giving me the time of day to talk. No one's understanding. You're watching it on the news happening in your city. You're watching other people in your community be slaughtered by these brutes of humans, and no one's going to do a thing." And she was like, "Well, what the hell do you expect me to do?" I said, "Get your ass out there and go fucking help. Go fucking help. You've got terrorists running around, blowing things up, killing people, shooting people in the face. Like, do something. You're not doing anything. Eventually they're going to come here. Eventually they're going to come to neighborhoods." And she was like, "Yeah, but we're inside." I'm like, "Whoa. What does that matter? What does it matter if you're inside, outside? They're going to fucking get you. If they're looking for blood, they're just going to knock down the door. They're going to come through the window. They're going to come inside." And she's like, "Oh, stop it." Which set me off. And, like, she then asked for my knife because she said that I was scaring her. And I wasn't, like, waving it around or anything or threatening her with it. I was just, like, holding it in my hands and my grip was getting tighter. And, like, she's kept asking for it. And I was like, there is no way that you are getting this from my hands. This is the only thing that I have left to remember anybody by. Like, because clearly, like, family is no more than blood. Like, no one cares. And so, um, she gets up and tries to take it. I just shove her back over the couch to where she falls and hits her head. And then I hear Brent get really mad. And he comes over and he's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Control her. Like, control her. Someone go fucking do something. Like, I'm leaving. I need to go mourn and figure out how to help other people because I just watched everybody that I know die, and I need to go out there to make sure other people are okay." Um, and everybody's like, "No, you don't have to do that. Like, protect yourself." And I'm like, "Fuck myself. Fuck you guys. Like, I'm going out there. Someone needs help." So I step outside of my front door, and I just hear this, like, "Shoo!" and this massive explosion in the sky. Um, it shot out like this giant bright white light, and it's from. The only way that I can describe it is the stories of bombs testing and whatnot back in World War II of the atom bomb, and from stories from Japan and whatnot, and when we've launched major nuclear missiles. Many stories from the survivors. That's exactly what I was seeing. And so this giant white light just blinded me, and the last thing I remember feeling was this shock wave just slam me up against the door, and I don't know if I went through the door or if my back just hit the door, but the second that my back hit the door, my body jolted, and like I just exhaled really hard, and that's where I woke up. And I woke up freezing cold. I was in blankets. I was fine. I was warm. It's not even cold tonight. Like it's warm. Um, but I was freezing cold, and my right hand was in so much pain. It was in so much pain in the same area where I'd cut it, which was right down here. And I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, and I was just frozen. And so I eventually was able to snap out of it. Oh, and one more thing. I was completely blinded. It was pitch black. I couldn't see a damn thing, which is not characteristic for my room because usually there's little bits of light coming through the blinds, and I've got a Wi-Fi extender in my room, so there's lights to that and whatnot. But I couldn't move. I couldn't see. I was completely blind. Um, and the second that I was able to move, I immediately clasped my hands together like this and was trying to put my finger inside of my wound just to tell myself, like, that was real. Like, I'm blind. I'm in a hospital. Like, I'm being treated because now I'm blind and injured and I can't feel my body except for the pain in my hand. Um, and the second that I felt my hand and felt it was fine and there was nothing wrong with it, I was able to see. But the second that I was able to see, I just heard something running around in my room. It was bizarre. It was weird. I have things like this happen to me a lot. Uh, I don't know why. I really don't. But I definitely have lots of experiments, or not experiments, experience with the paranormal, with the extraterrestrial, with interdimensional travelers, with things of that sort of nature. And so I just heard this thing running around in my room. Immediately, once this thing wasn't on top of me, and started running, I was warm. I immediately warmed back up, and I was able to feel. I was able to see. And I had gotten up and was just bewildered. I was bewildered. It was such a crazy experience. And I can't stop seeing the images of my friends just being killed. Like, I still can't 3-4 hours later after waking up. Like, it's like in my head. Even when my eyes are open, I'm just still seeing this. So I talked to my friends for a little while, and I just didn't want to go back to bed right now. So I decided, hey, I'm going to share this with the world. The world's going to figure out what to do with it. You can judge me. You can be like, oh, this guy's crazy. He talks about weird shit, and he feels a weird way about things, and he sees things that aren't there. He's a schizo. That's your opinion. I really don't care. I know what I do and I don't see. I know how I do and don't feel. And you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have my experience. So, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to let the world know. I wanted to document this for friends and whatnot because a lot of them were a part of it. And it was bizarre. It was a very bizarre experience, something that I have to think about, much like, a mushroom trip. And that was one of the other weird things. I was getting crazy visuals when I woke up. Like, I had just come off of some crazy psychedelic experience. And so, like, the walls were moving, and I was seeing, like, small little geometric, like, sacred geometry in the walls. And I was just like, man, what a crazy dream. Like, it didn't even feel like a dream. It felt like I was transported to, like, I don't know, a different dimension, but like same timeline, same time, just different body, in a different place with the same people. But it was still me and it was still them. Um, It was weird. It was real weird. But one of the things I want to bring to the world is the knowledge of my experience, and hopefully you guys can do something with that. Hopefully you learn a little bit. Hopefully you at least find this story interesting and fascinating, because if nothing else, it's crazy. Um, but that is all I wanted to share with everybody, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Don't have dreams like that, and much love, everybody.